Good afternoon. You're watching News 18 Global with me, Ridhima Bhatnagar. Now, it looks like it's going to be a repeat of 2020 come 2024. United States President Joe Biden has announced his presidential bid for 2024 after much anticipation, and this means that America will witness Donald Trump versus Joe Biden in all probability. Now, the 80-year-old Democrat made the announcement through a 3-minute promotional video, which opens with an imagery from the 6th of January when the United States Capitol riots happened and the attack happened under the leadership of President Donald Trump. Biden led with the bid, "Let's finish the job." But the timing of the Biden announcement couldn't have come at a more tricky time, because it doesn't look like that everything is in his favor. Things are not as bright as he would have expected them to be. Let's take a news survey, for example. It says 70% respondents said that Biden shouldn't be running for president. About 60% of them said exactly the same for Donald Trump. Now, Joe Biden's health has also been questioned, while Trump is surrounded by a lot of legal troubles. Only time will tell if Trump's indictment and his criminal record will be able to have an impact as far as the presidential race is concerned. First, let's take a look at Biden's 2024 election campaign video that was released yesterday.
Freedom, personal freedom, is fundamental to who we are as Americans.
There's nothing more important, nothing more sacred.
That's been the work of my first term, to fight for our democracy,
This shouldn't be a red revolution.
to protect our rights, to make sure that everyone in this country is treated equally and that everyone is given a fair shot at making it. But you know, around the country, MAGA extremists are lining up to take on those bedrock freedoms, cutting Social Security that you paid for your entire life while cutting taxes for the very wealthy, dictating what health care decisions women can make, banning books, and telling people who they can love, all while making it more difficult for you to be able to vote. When I ran for president 4 years ago, I said we're in a battle for the soul of America, and we still are. The question we're facing is whether in the years ahead we have more freedom or less freedom, more rights or fewer. I know what I want the answer to be, and I think you do too. This is not a time to be complacent. That's why I'm running for re-election, because I know America. I know we're good and decent people. I know we're still a country that believes in honesty and respect and treating each other with dignity. That we're a nation where we give hate no safe harbor. We believe that everyone is equal, that everyone should be given a fair shot to succeed in this country.
Thank you for choosing us.
Every generation of Americans has faced a moment when they have to defend democracy. Stand up for our personal freedom. Stand up for the right to vote and our civil rights. And this is our moment.
We, the people, will not decide.
So if you're with me, go to joebiden.com and sign up. Let's finish this job. I know we can, because this is the United States of America. There's nothing, simply nothing we cannot do if we do it together.
Let's finish the job is what the re-election video of Joe Biden says. Let's also now bring in our guest. We have former diplomat Prabhu Dayal now joining us. So good to have you with us on the broadcast this afternoon. Is it almost now given that it's going to be Trump versus Biden, or could we still see a last-minute candidate?
Well, you know, by all accounts, the stage is getting set for a potential rematch of President Joe Biden with former President Donald Trump. There are, of course, some others who are in the fray and who are contenders. For instance, Mr. Trump faces competition from Florida Governor Ron Santos, as also from Nikki Haley, Tim Scott. Another Indian origin candidate is Vivek Ramaswamy,
Yeah.
who is an entrepreneur and a social activist. There are also indications that former Vice President Mr. Mike Pence may also throw in his hat in the ring. On the other side, there are some Democrat candidates who are also in the fray. Marianne Williamson, who's a former self-help author and who had run unsuccessfully for the presidency in 2020. She's also a candidate, as also is Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's a nephew of former U.S. President John Kennedy.
Yeah.
So there are others in the fray, but by all accounts, President Biden and former President Donald Trump
Okay.
are considered favorites to win their nomination. So that's why I said the stage is potentially set.
You're
for-
right. You're right. I was reading a lot of news reports as the news broke yesterday, and one of the headlines that really caught my attention, it said it's going to be Trump versus Biden, but it's a rematch that most voters actually don't want. Do you think the re-election bid of Joe Biden couldn't have come at a more tricky time for him?
Well, you're correct. There are recent polls which suggest that Mr. Biden's decision to run is quite a divisive one, both within his party and also nationally. Over the weekend, an NBC News poll found that 70% of Americans believe that President Joe Biden should not run again. And of course, most of these feel that his age is a major concern.
But sir, it's
he's
interesting you
already-
mentioned that survey, because I also mentioned that survey when I started the show. If that survey says that 70% don't want Biden to run, the same survey says 60% don't want Donald Trump also to run. So if both these options are not wanted by voters, then what is the option?
Well, in both cases, they are considered pretty old. President Biden is 80 and Donald Trump is 76. So they are not young by any standard, but the thing is that they are not facing very serious challenges. Of course, the scene is still evolving.
Sure.
We are seeing more and more candidates announcing their bid.
Sure.
So it's not yet a sealed and decided issue that they will be the candidates. But nonetheless, by all accounts, it does appear that a contest between them is going to be quite likely.
I want to now do a SWOT analysis of sorts for both the candidates if this is going to be the final picture for 2024. Let's begin with Donald Trump. I mean, as far as his critics are concerned, there are many, but as far as the loyalists are concerned, there are also many. So that's pretty much split. But as far as an image is concerned, his legal troubles are only increasing. The arraignment happened a few weeks ago. There are charges and suits after that as well. Do you think all of this will have an impact as far as the electoral success is concerned?
Well, this question is no doubt being asked. Do criminal charges disqualify Donald Trump from being elected president? Now, I have read quite a bit on it, and it seems that the short answer being given is that even if Donald Trump is convicted, the charges against him won't disqualify him from the presidency. Many legal experts are saying it. Recently, I read a report in the Time magazine where Richard Hansen, an election law professor at the University of California Law School, said that there is no constitutional bar on a felon running for office. So even if there's a case going on against former President Donald Trump, that will not disqualify him, I think, by all accounts. This is the bulk of legal opinion which seems to I have come across.
No, you're right, because even when the arraignment was happening, that one short soundbite that the media got from Donald Trump was that even if I'm convicted, I'm still going to run. So I think that's the kind of legal assurance that even he has.
I'm afraid
from
your
his
voice is not coming through. It's all the words are tripping over Can you go a little slower? There's something wrong with the
We'll just try and fix that, and I'll repeat what I was saying. Essentially, I was saying you're right. The short soundbite that we heard when the arraignment of Donald Trump was happening, he said, even if I'm convicted, I will run for president. So that's possibly the kind of assurance that's been given even by his own legal team to Donald Trump.
Well, certainly the fact that if a convicted person contests, there is going to be public opinion which may wear around. But at the same time, Donald Trump has a pretty strong support base. And that support base is unflinching in regard to the fact that it wants Donald Trump to run for presidency and even win the presidency. So, by all accounts, there are still people who are strongly in favor of Donald Trump. At the same time, Joe Biden also enjoys a pretty strong following among his supporters. So, for that reason, their respective ages may not come into the picture, and they may find each other as their rival opponents during the presidential campaign.
So lastly, I want to understand now, as far as prospects for Joe Biden are concerned, age, as you said, is a factor on both sides. For Joe Biden, many have said that possibly he shouldn't have thrown his hat in the ring. But more importantly, he's also going to have a very immediate report card that many are going to see. It was the COVID-19 pandemic, economy, inflation, that still continues to be a huge concern. What is going to be the challenge come 2024 as far as Biden is concerned?
Well, as you rightly said, his age is not the only concern. Apart from his age, there are other factors which are also being considered by the electorate. The economy is seen by Americans as the biggest problem facing the country. At the same time, there are other issues which are being focused on, particularly in the opinion polls. These include issues like crime, healthcare, and the environment. So I must point out that according to a Reuters poll, which was held very recently, Biden's approval fell to 39% this year, which is almost the lowest figure that he has achieved. Consistently, his popularity is around 40%. Whether that is good enough for him to win the presidency or not remains to be seen. But as you rightly said, apart from his age, there are other factors which are also important.
Yeah. So we leave the conversation there. We'll have to see how the story develops over the next few months and years, of course, and what 2024 will bring. But let's also play out some reactions that are coming in from voters. Now, voters across the United States offered their opinions on President Joe Biden's announcement that he, in fact, is going to run for 2024.
It's nice with Biden because he does have the wisdom and he's got the experience of decades in Congress. But it would be nice to kind of get out of the old male white patriarchy.
I think he's just old.
Don't think he's has the capacity to finish this term, I wish. Sorry.
I'm really excited. So I'm super excited that he's running this term. Primarily because, as a gay man, a lot of my rights with the other parties can be in jeopardy.
I would prefer some totally different people being in those things. We've seen what we've had in those choices. We know what is there.
My initial thoughts are I'm actually a little bit indifferent. I really haven't seen a lot of the policies and things that he was stating while he was campaigning. So, I'm kind of at the point where I really don't care if he's going to run or not.
I think it's wonderful. Seems like we're doing pretty good, and I don't know anybody else that I'd want us to represent us right now at this difficult time that we're in.
Speaking for a lot of folks in my generation, I feel like President Biden doesn't really speak to a lot of the issues that we care about the most. I wish that there was a more progressive candidate.
I'm a little bothered. He's a little old, and if I can't join the Army at 58, I don't think he should run the country at 80.
Mixed. I was hoping to kind of have a newer, more exciting candidate run. Biden's very safe.